Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Town Manlius board meeting for June 24th. Everybody is welcome to join in person by Zoom or on Facebook. If you would like to join by Zoom, the instructions are at the beginning of each agenda. And this will be available online tomorrow as well. So we're going to start with asking Councilor Gonzalez McCurdy to lead us. I pledge allegiance to the flag,
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I have a proclamation on the occasion of the 250th anniversary of the United States. Whereas on July 4th, 2006, the United States will celebrate its 250th anniversary, marking the signing of the Declaration of Independence and the founding of our nation. And whereas our founders established a nation based on equality and inalienable rights and the pursuit of happiness, principles that have guided America's enduring legacy of freedom and achievement. And whereas our system of representation of government is based on the wisdom of the Haudenosaunee, whereas local government plays a vital role in teaching civic values, honoring our history, and fostering patriotism and unity among new generations. Now therefore be it resolved, the Town of Manlius calls on the community to join in this celebration, reflect on our nation's journey, and recommit to the founding principles that make America strong and united. And be it further resolved, the Town of Manlius proudly commemorates America's 250th anniversary by raising a semi-quincentennial flag at Town Hall to celebrate our nation's history and future on July 1st, 2026 at noon. Thank you. So hopefully you guys not come back to that. Now it's time for open podium. If anybody would like to speak at open podium, please feel free to come up. Did anybody sign in?
There wasn't one.
Okay.
You want
me to get the name?
No.
Well, yeah.
That's the first row.
Hello, Tom Bassett, retired real estate lawyer, longtime town resident. So I just come before you for two purposes. One is to, in both cases, I wanted to commend the board for actions that they have taken. One of the actions was to contract with I don't know if there's a contract or not with Maxwell School to have an analysis made of the options, and that's going to be presented momentarily, I guess. Options as to what to do about the need for improved facilities for the police department and the town offices. And I sort of blew through the very lengthy report prepared that's going to be touched upon, I guess, or described momentarily. It outlines several different options for rehabbing this building. Well, you've seen what the options are, and there are cost projections, impact on taxes, and so there are pros and cons to each option. So you have a difficult task in deciding ultimately what to do, because there, just like I said, there are pros and cons to various options, different costs, different impacts on taxpayers, different priorities. So I wish you luck with that. But I'm glad that you undertook that study, because as you know, there are two prior proposals as far as acquisition of land on Burdick Street, and then basically in the Northeast Medical area. Those plans fell through partially as a result of, substantially as a result of lack of citizen input and careful analysis of the factors that are outlined in this report. So the second subject, I have two sort of self-deprecating things to say. One being, you're here for this report, right? So I was rejected by the Maxwell School. so long ago, when I was trying to get a dual degree between the law school and the national school. But the national school obviously is the number one school in the country for public administration and other such affairs. But I don't hold it against you, because my qualifications were not up to par. But the second item I wanted to address was the regressive decision on the part of the board to pick Brett as a new counselor. I don't know what the process was. What I know is, based on resumes, that he's well qualified, brings an impressive academic record to the board, is a lawyer, not that there's anything necessarily inherently good or bad about being a lawyer, but he's a lawyer. And I suppressed the bias that I might have had as far as having gone to Dartmouth College, his having gone to Yale University, I think, and Yale Law School. All good, because the qualifications he brings are excellent. But the other aspect of it was that it shows a welcomeness of diversity of the sort that you're aware of. Our society is backsliding in certain ways, as far as in a lot of different areas, including what had originally been the successful gay rights movement. And as the parent of a daughter who is in a same-sex marital relationship, those individuals are parents of our two granddaughters. I was particularly moved when I saw the video of the swearing-in ceremony, which was held here, where Brett's spouse brought their children, and it was quite moving. But none of that would have occurred unless you had the willingness to be progressive enough to set aside whatever biases you might have had and embrace the diversity which our society is dependent on. Thanks so much.
Anybody else like?
Yeah, I would.
Come on.
So I'll just make this real brief.
Please say your name and
Oh,
part of town you live.
Pat Allen, Manoa. So I had the chance to read through the Maxwell presentation, which was very good, very thorough. But I just had a question, right? I was under the impression that we're still open to exploring other options. So what we see in the Maxwell report is a whole buffet of options to consider, right? But there could be other options that are added to the buffet table to make our choices that much richer. Okay, so we're all in agreement on that, right?
There may be 7 choices.
Could be 17. Who knows? You've got a lot of bright people there participating and offering up stuff. But I was just a little alarmed because one could draw the conclusion from the document that here's your options.
And I think that, if I may, you can add to this, but there has to be a student project with an end piece of a project. So they have to put something together for the project. That doesn't mean it's what the study group has to use. They have to put it together.
Right. Okay, because it would be very easy to misinterpret that presentation of, here you go. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
It's not the end, it's just the start.
Yes.
Anybody else? All right, well, speaking of presentations, do you want to say 2 words?
Sure. So I'll introduce Professor Pete Wilcoxon. He was the advisor for the capstone group that did this research. They worked with us for about 3 weeks. They went on tours of this building, our police department, Camillus and DeWitt police departments and town halls, and did quite a bit of research to come up with this report. Their capstone period ended yesterday, and so Professor Wilcoxon is sharing on their behalf.
Okay, yeah, thank you everyone for being here and thank you for the opportunity. I am a stand-in for a student team who completed this project as part of their master's degree, and they graduated yesterday and got on airplanes this morning, and so you are stuck with me. They would have been more fun. But I want to emphasize from the outset that our task, I'm going to go through this in the slides, but our task was not to make any decisions of any kind or limit the community in any way. I should also say, by the way, since we're doing introductions, that I am a resident of Manlius, and my wife teaches in the FM schools. So anyway, our mission was merely to collate the facts as inputs to the community engagement process. And we were tasked with dreaming up some possible options, but not an exhaustive list. Instead, the way that we think about it is we put together a menu. And so, since a lot of you have already read the presentation, I'll go through this pretty quickly. But there have been longstanding issues at the town hall and at the police station. As probably everyone knows, the town hall is owned by the town. The police station is east from the village. Board started a community engagement process, including study group participants. Probably many of you are in the study group.
Several are.
Yeah, so
Professor, that microphone there will let the people that are watching it down there, you just be mindful when you turn.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm gonna make sure.
Thank you. And so our task was to pull together information. And the key questions that we were trying to address are, what are the key issues at those locations? What are some ways to prioritize those? What are some options for addressing them? And how can this information be communicated transparently and accessibly to the community? And so our overall process, this again is a slightly condensed version of what you've seen on the web if you've looked at the web, is as Ingrid mentioned, there was a community listening session. The team did tours of both the Manlius facilities and similar facilities in DeWitt and Camillus. We looked into legal requirements, categorized the issues by type and priority, developed a preliminary set of options, and did a preliminary cost benefit analysis of addressing those options. And we put everything on the web. So again, I think this is available to you, but this the students put together a website which includes information from this presentation, what we set out to do, how we thought about the project, the options, how they compare, and then a whole menu of what the problems are and which options fix which problems. And then at the bottom is all of the documents and analysis that we did. So there's a cost benefit analysis spreadsheet. There's a PDF guide to it. There's information about what we learned about ADA requirements and what we learned about non-ADA issues. Full slate of options to address all the issues, communication strategies. All this is available. And then at the bottom is a list of all the sources we use. So if anybody really wants to go in a deep dive, they can look at the spreadsheet, which shows how all of this fits together, or go to the original documents. Okay, so okay, so one of the things, we learned a bunch of things from the community listening session. It was super useful. One of the things that came through very clearly was that people wanted a clear list of what the problems were. They wanted transparency, safety was a priority, ADA accessibility was a priority. Decisions should be data driven, so we should provide as much data as we could. People were wary, I think is a fair word to say about tax increases. And the priority, sorry, there's a Zoom thing in my way here. The priority was making everything functional, but not necessarily impressive or attractive. And there was a question about how does Manlius compare with other towns? If you haven't seen the handout, I'll go through this quickly, but we did some comparison of adjacent towns. The orange bars are Manlius, the blue bars are DeWitt, Camillus, and Cicero. And of the 4 towns, Manlius has the largest population. It also has the largest area, which is relevant for, among other things, policing. We looked at some financial variables as well, household income and the size of the tax base. Of the 4 communities, the median household income in Manlius is highest. Although to be sure, Manlius is very heterogeneous, right? So that's the median income, but there certainly are people at other ends of the spectrum. And it has the second highest tax base. We looked at the town's budget compared to others, and Manlius's town budget is about the same as Camillus and Cicero, considerably lower than DeWitt. And the property tax revenue is lowest of all 4 towns. The team did some additional comparisons by visiting facilities, and they, just for reference, DeWitt has a larger town staff. It has considerably higher security, has bulletproof glass and doors, interconnected private workspaces so that people can move back and forth without having to go into a public space. It's fully ADA compliant. Camillus has what the team found to be a super important thing. They have a full-time building and maintenance supervisor whose job is to fix stuff. And they just went through like a whole list of things that this person had fixed around the buildings that saved a ton of money, right? So that's just a thing to put in the back of the mind. Camillus has higher security. They have electronic locks and badging systems, and they are committed to becoming ADA compliant, including an elevator retrofit. Okay, so that's the town comparison. We then tried to make a comprehensive list of all the issues that we could find from either talking to staff, talking to the community, reading the previous documents that had evaluated the problems. We grouped everything into 4 categories: accessibility, safety and security, operational issues, and electrical system issues. And then we rank them into 3 priorities. The highest priority are things that we believe are legally required. The second category are things that we think are high priority to fix, but of course it's up to the community to do. And then the lowest are things that one might ideally fix if resources were not a problem. Here is a quick review of some of the issues. So for accessibility, legally required for ADA compliance would be improved door handles, signs with braille. Things which are not strictly required include some additional automatic doors and an elevator or lift to help people who have challenges to get from one floor of the building to another. As probably everyone knows, that's not legally required because it's possible for a person to go outside and go around to the other entrance. So that's why it's on the should fix, but it certainly is inconvenient for people who have any kind of mobility issues. Also, adjusting counter heights so that they're wheelchair accessible is on that list. For safety and security in town hall, improved security like badge door scanners, doors that lock from the inside. This, if you're not familiar with it, in our modern world is an essential thing. Like at SU, we've had swatting incidents where people called and said there were active shooters in the building, and it we discovered that people couldn't lock themselves in their office, right? They could be locked in the office, but you couldn't lock the office to prevent someone else from coming in. That's a serious security concern. And so one of the things that we think should be fixed is doors should be lockable on the inside, just in case of that kind of an incident. Also, another thing that should be ideally fixed is this picture will either be really familiar to you if you know town hall, or it'd be kind of opaque, but this is showing downstairs, and it's when court is in session, people who have to go to the restroom have to walk behind the security officer, which is clearly not a great security situation. So that's another item to consider. On operational, which is kind of a catch-all category, state law requires towns to have secure record holding facilities that can ensure that records are not damaged and are protected from the elements. And town hall could certainly use an upgrade in that. Also, there's space shortages, heating problems in some of the offices that are on the ideally fixed. There were also concerns raised, this is a little out of our bailiwick really, but there were concerns raised about the age and integrity of the heating and ventilating and air conditioning system, and some of the electrical wiring where there were breakers tripped from seemingly innocuous loads being plugged in. So to come back to the real point, what we did is we took all of these things together and we made a menu. So the analogy with a buffet was perfect. So we made a menu, and so this is all the items that we identified at town hall as concerns. They're color coded by things that we think are required by law to be fixed, things that would be desirable to fix, and then things that could be fixed if there were resources available, and their categories: safety, security, operational, and so on. So these are all the items at town hall. At the police station, the ADA doors and at the police station restrooms are required. There are some hallways which are not ADA accessible. And then ideally, the students regard this as ideal. I think it probably should rank higher than that. But there are stairs where if a disabled person arrives at the police station, someone has to get the person out and carry them up the stairs, right? And sometimes it could be a person who is under arrest. And so that clearly seems to be a priority. There are also worn asbestos tiles in the floor, which should be fixed to prevent people from being exposed to asbestosis. There are limited holding cells, so it's quite common for there to be more people who need to be held in the police station than there are cells. If you're unfamiliar with the police station, this line marks how far somebody who is in one of the cells can reach. And for officers to be able to get past the cells when they're full safely, they have to turn sideways and squeeze through that narrow opening. Also, another issue that, as you probably all know, the police station, which is leased from the town, was once an elementary school, and it has huge windows. And through the windows, anybody in the public, if the shades are not drawn, can see everything that's going on in the police station. So improving the privacy of the windows, even something as simple as glass block, would be a big step forward. The secure record holding rule applies to police records which are currently stored in shipping containers. So that's a thing that we consider to be a legally required upgrade. The police station has a severe lack of space. They have, things stored in places where, like in the roof of the garage, where really it'd be better not to have things stored. They have child-sized bathrooms, because it was an elementary school, right? Child size means both low and small, okay? The ceiling in the garage is not high enough to lift a car high enough for a mechanic to go fully underneath, so there's an injury risk when somebody is working on a car. There's no designated space for securing evidence. If the police station was able to raise the lift higher, they would be able to do more of the maintenance work on patrol cars. Right now, they have to send it out for maintenance, the car's out for maintenance, anything that's serious in the undercarriage. There's not very much space in the parking lot for the officers' cars, the patrol cars, and the undercover cars, plus visitors. So here is the police station name. So again, there's the list of things that larger space for impounded vehicles. There's a little more detail in here. Same color scheme. The thing that I took away from this when we did this study is the police station has way more issues, right? Of the two buildings, it's just clear in almost every dimension that it has more needs. Okay, so we were tasked with coming up with some ideas, but not a complete set of options. These are just ideas. And so we put together 5. The first one is to do the minimum, just fix the urgent problems with ADA compliance in both buildings. Option B is to shoot for the moon, do a full rebuild, bringing both facilities into one integrated building with town hall, police, and the court all in one building. And then we had 3 options that differed from that. Option C is to rebuild the police station and to renovate town hall, but keep the building. Option D is to purchase a new building for the police station and renovate town hall. And option E is to purchase a new building for the police station and do the minimum renovations on town hall. So it's essentially D for the police and A for town hall. So these will be hard to read at a distance, but in the presentation that's online, there are space diagrams. These aren't floor plans, but they're diagrams of how much space is available in each of the buildings now and how much there would be under each of the plans. And so this is option A, which is do the minimum, and the buildings here and the approximate square footage devoted to each function are the current layout. And in a minute, I'll show you exactly what's addressed in option A, but option A is to do the minimum. It would provide immediate compliance and safety fixes, and it would avoid having to issue new debt. It's not cheap, but it's inexpensive really. But there would be a bunch of remaining challenges. The police would be in an undersized building. The lease on the police station would continue. The police and the court remain separate, which is not ideal in different buildings. Each of the buildings has many persistent problems. And the thing that's really important is that this kicks the can down the road. Option A doesn't fix a lot of problems, which will ultimately need to be fixed, right? It just means we don't do it now. We have to keep maintaining the buildings along the way and eventually rebuild them. Option B is a full rebuild. It solves all of the problems on the list. It's one modern building. It ends the police station lease. The police facility is properly sized according to international standards. Police and the court are co-located, which is an improvement in security. Town hall can be sold and put back on the tax roll, but it's expensive. It has the largest upfront cost. It would need a large site, about 7 acres, we think, and obviously would require a bond. Option C is to just build a building for the police. So that's this new police building over here on the left. and renovate town hall. So this would, fix all the problems that the police currently have. And it would, fix the problems in town hall. It would also free up the court space in town hall for other purposes. The downside is it requires two buildings to maintain rather than one, which is the case in option B. And it's important to remember that a full renovation of town hall has some risks associated with it. Like it could be that there's asbestos discovered in the building, and asbestos remediation could be very expensive. Okay, option D would be to purchase an existing building and renovate town hall. So that has many of the advantages of the option C, except that the building doesn't have to be built from scratch. It does have to be converted, and the conversion cost is a big wild card there. We picked just a rough size building looking at commercial buildings around Manlius of 25,000 square feet, which is a little undersized for the police station, but it's much better than what they have now. And there would still be retrofit risks at town hall. Option E is to do option D for the police building, buy a building and convert it to a new police station, and then do the minimum renovations here. I'll show you the cost in a second. That has at the lowest lifetime cost. But it leaves a lot of things unresolved because it makes only the minimum changes here. Okay, so to go back to the menus, this is going to be impossible to read here, but remember it's in all the stuff that's available on the web. And also, you know both where I live and where I work. So you can ask me questions. Okay? So this is an extended version of the menu, and it just shows like under A, B, C, D, and E, which things are resolved by those options. And those are not only which things are resolved, but they're which things we tried to factor into the cost benefit analysis. Here's how the different options address issues at the police station. You can see that A is the minimum, B is all of the options for all of the issues. Okay, I'm going to show you the cost now in just a second, but there are a couple of key things that are important to know about the cost. And the first is that the due minimum options on town hall or town hall and the police station, when we scored those, we took into account that eventually an upgrade will need to happen. And we put that in at 30 years. So due minimum does not avoid having to do the major overhauls, it just postpones it. And so for option A, which was the initial due minimum, what we factored in is a comprehensive build of the police station and town hall in year 30. And we used the cost of option B for that in year 30. For option E, where the police get a new building up front, we factored in a full renovation of town hall in year 30 and used the cost from the EIP study that was done a couple years ago. No additional work is needed on the police station. Okay, so this is how things stacked up, and this is probably a little hard to read on the screen, but the options are listed in the same order that I just went through. So A is due minimum. The left bars that are in a muddy orange color are the upfront cost of that option, what you'd have to pay to carry them out immediately. The blue bars are the lifetime present value cost. So it's today's cost factoring in what you do today, but also all the maintenance that you have to do over time and the eventual rebuild. So doing option A, we think would cost about $1 million now, but its life cycle cost equivalent today is $24 million, right? Because a lot of this deferred, maintenance would eventually have to be done. The full rebuild is obviously much more expensive, right up front, $47 million. And then counting all life cycle costs, 51. The split, version, which is a full rebuild of the police station and a full renovation of town hall, comes in, slightly cheaper, but not a lot. D and E come in much cheaper than either of those. So purchasing a new building for the police department comes in with an upfront cost of $21 million. And its life cycle cost is only slightly higher than that.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
The 21 million in D, is that an existing building that has to be retrofit for the police department?
Yes,
Okay, so that's purchased and upgrades.
is purchase in our guess of what the upgrade cost would be, which I think is like $6 million in the spreadsheet. Yeah.
Thank you.
One of the things that we just to emphasize that we don't want to put our thumbs on the scale here, even though I live here, right? That we provide this a detailed spreadsheet that has many pages and you can change clearly labeled assumptions that you can change, right? So if you think, well, what happens if the retrofit cost for an existing building is $7 million? You can just change the 6 to 7 and see how it works, right? But what if it's only 5? And then this thing out here at the end where you purchase a new building for the police and retrofit it, and then defer all of the things that are not absolutely necessary for town hall. That comes in with a low upfront cost, a higher life cycle cost because of things just getting deferred. Okay, then we land on this diagram, which is either awesome or awful, depending on your taste in diagrams. Okay, and it's probably on the awful side because it's not very big for you. But on the horizontal axis is upfront cost. So here is option A. It has a very low upfront cost. Here is E. Here is D. Here are B and C. On the vertical axis is the life cycle cost. Because the present value in today's dollars, taking into account the eventual cost that will need to be paid. In the dream world, you'd be close to the origin in both, right? You'd have low upfront cost and low life cycle cost. Okay. The size of the circles shows how many of the issues are addressed, right? So A is pretty low cost. It doesn't address very many issues. Okay. B, the full rebuild solves all the problems. It's also the most expensive on both measures. Okay. So our thumbs are not on the scale, but the thing that stood out to us is D. D addresses almost everything, right? That's buying and renovating a building for the police and then renovating town hall. It does not have, by any means, the lowest upfront cost, but it does have among the lowest life cycle cost because it avoids the kicking the can down the road problem. Okay. What I mean by kicking the can down the road, just to be super clear about this, is I have my car suffers from rust and salt, right? And I keep getting hammered by I need a new catalytic converter, like some of you have had this experience, right? I need a new this and that and the other thing. And so the question is, do I hang on to the car and keep paying all of that stuff and then eventually buy a new car? At what point do I buy a new car? And so the life cycle cost is important because there's a bunch of stuff that is eventually going to have to be fixed. So our key takeaways, there are 32 issues of varying urgency. The police station has the largest number of needs. We have 5 options, but there can be many, many more. You can mix and match things from the menu. The a low upfront cost. You should remember that there will be higher lifetime costs down the road. And then we put everything on the web. So, thank you for listening, and are there any questions I can answer?
So are we, is it open meeting to the public or the questions from the board? And they-
Questions for the board first.
I know that a couple of us were at the presentation last week, so we did get quite a few of our questions answered already. And but for those of you that weren't there, because we already asked many questions last week, so it's not that we don't have questions, but they were already answered. I would be fine with that, but we should set a time on it.
Maybe for the benefit of the public, the questions that were asked that you guys asked in the presentation, is it helpful?
I don't even remember what I asked. I had a couple clarifying questions. I think I asked if DeWitt tax assessed value included commercial buildings.
Which is, yes.
It did, was my guess.
Yeah.
And then I asked a question, I thought it was interesting that the tax assessed value and then the resources that we have for our town facilities were so different from each other compared to the other communities.
Could you identify actual properties that were 25 to 31,000 square feet that were for sale currently in the town?
We did not.
Oh.
We looked at a sort of quick inventory of buildings, but, didn't do that.
But they weren't necessarily for sale.
Right, yeah.
Right, that wasn't their role in the time frame.
Yeah,
I'm not disappointed, I just wanted.
I think we actually said we didn't include that on purpose because we didn't want to give them. But that's where the study group is toward the end of our process, we could pick up with that if we chose to.
Just one additional question. You also included your cost benefit analysis, the estimated tax increases for the household.
Yes.
And option A, when we do the absolute bare minimum, it says $0 tax increases for everyone. Although eventually, I assume that would actually change because there'd be a $23 million hit over the long term. So I'm curious how you got these estimates because it doesn't seem to jive with. Eventually, a bill will come due if we do nothing. And then on the option D and E, on D, for instance, there's an $86 a year tax increase for every median household. I'm curious where you got that number and how long that $86 increase happens. Is that over 30 years? Does it eventually go away?
Yeah.
Or does that $86 cover the upfront cost over the course of 2 years?
Yeah, so those numbers are all as it sounds like you inferred, they're all based on paying for the upfront cost over I think 30 years. I have to look at the spreadsheet. And the reason that A comes in with 0 is because we assumed that it wouldn't require a bond issue to pay for that, but there wouldn't actually, it's $1 million and that could be covered some other way. All the other ones is basically.
So you assume the borrowing for the other 4 options.
Yeah, there's borrowing for the other 4 options and you look at what the tax burden would be per household.
Anything else from the board?
Yeah, I just had a quick question. I noticed you guys discussed the storage issue for the records of both the town hall and police station. This might be a question for the board as well. Is it an option for that to be outsourced entirely to a private entity so that wouldn't have to be included in the
What the outsource?
and the record storage? Like it looked like there was a lot of like long-term record storage, and there are private companies in contract with it to just take
I
this
think we
away.
have a payment in perpetuity, like with a police station, they're leasing from the village, and I don't think we would favor that.
Yeah, I'm just curious if that's an option that was examined, because I know that there are towns that do that. They don't have that on-site records.
It can also be superior for security purposes, such as like a fire.
Right.
We did not look into that. The other thing that maybe people on the board know, but that I was curious about is what if you digitize the records, do you escape from this problem?
That's sort of what I was getting.
Well,
Because
so
that-
we've
That is
done,
a.
we've had a large undertaking as far as digitizing everything. They're almost, right, again, almost complete with that whole process, but there's still a little that must be under a certain period of time.
Yeah.
It's visible.
And some things like our police records can't be digitized.
Right, the police records are obviously a little different than the town hall records. I was just curious if that's an option.
Well, we are digitizing a lot of records, actually, Lisa has been leading the charge on that. She loves standing.
In fact, we do.
That's awesome. Love to hear it.
Yes.
Did anybody else have?
Scanner.
Right, and then,
A question on financing. Are there any available, state or federal, grant sourcing for this type of work, particularly as far as the police station, or the, outfitting of the police station? Something to reduce the need to bond the whole thing.
That is an excellent question. The team talked with people in the town who have been writing grants on different things, but we did not do a comprehensive search to see if there were grant agencies that we could use to cover some of that. That's a good question, not answered by us.
that wasn't part of your project, so that can still happen.
The group will identify that, right?
I mean, the assumption is they would all be explored.
Yeah.
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 Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we, just to be super clear, we did not find that there aren't, we didn't look, right? So,
So, first, let me introduce myself. I'm a former colleague of yours from SU, albeit in a lesser program.
oh, I don't know about that.
But, the program I was in is one that is focused on communication. And I'm channeling a little bit of what Pat was asking in the opening forum. And that is, it seems that your framing of the questions and the issues itself is influencing what we want us to perceive as the choices. And let me give you an example. For example, you said the first option is do minimum, as opposed to saying something like address the immediate problems. And the reason that's important is because the way you ask the question influences the way you answer it. You know who Frank Luntz is, the Republican focus group guru. You know, he got us to understand that the estate tax became the death tax.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference in how we understand that kind of tax. So my concern is partially the way the framing occurs in the asking of questions.
That's a very valid point. I think you're absolutely right that that should have been named differently. Because the intent was.
I understand the intent, yeah.
The intent was address the stuff that seems to be legally required. And it does sound pejorative to say do the minimum. That was a mistake on our part in how we phrased it.
By the way, I do applaud the work. I will have a question, but I'm part of the study group, so I can voice them there.
Yeah, you can, well.
I have just two quick questions. The data around the needs of the police department, is that around using the current recommendations for the size of the police based on staff? Or how does that come to? Was it having to do with the actual functionality of police in our town? Or is it more of just here's general guidelines that can?
For the size, for the sort of desirable size of the police department, that came from a recommendation from an international organization on how many square feet there should be per employee in a typical police station. So that's where that came from. So think of it as a rough guideline, but not a hard number.
Then my second question is this cost versus issue solved. The percent solved is just percent of the checklist. But like when I'm looking at the thing, 10% solved is all the critical items have been solved. So I found this very confusing because it's not qualitative. It's more of just
They're not
X percent versus, and it's X percent now versus X percent over the 30 years, running over 30 years, 4%. So I found this very confusing, but it didn't highlight that actually critical issues would be all solved under these issues. It's what we do now to understand what we need to do overall next 30 years. So
That's an excellent point, right? They're not, in my field, I'm an environmental economist, and in my field, I would say that we failed to weight the problems by their severity, right? And
Yeah.
so we could use a different icon.
no, yeah, I like the spreadsheets and everything. I'm looking forward to the website about all the data use. I think it's called out there very well.
Yeah.
I
that's
got
a good
confused
point.
by this because it's like, it looks like based on this, there's like the answer, but there's not what it's showing. Okay.
Other things we, how we do? Okay, anybody?
Got one more.
Hi.
I'm curious, when we talk about those issues that are legally required, mandated to fix, what's the kind of consequence for kicking the can down the road on that? It's a two-part question. That's the first part of the question. Second part is, when you do your analysis on what these costs are gonna look like in 30 years, if there is a cost associated with that, whether it's opportunity or whether it's actually, we're getting hit by actual fines, is that included in that analysis?
Yeah, so, there's two ways to think about what the costs are of not addressing this. So one of them is that there's a risk of a lawsuit. And we have some numbers in the spreadsheet that include an estimate of the risk of a lawsuit for not addressing some of these things. The more important thing, I think, this is just me, not the team, is that some of these things that are not addressed are becoming increasingly important to a community that's aging. Like the accessibility needs, right? There may not ever be a lawsuit, but there'll be people who can't come to town hall because they have mobility issues. And, I won't go through the litany of like my neighbor this and my neighbor that, but that would be my concern is that it would be, the record storage thing, I think the record storage thing, I'm not quite sure what the consequences are, but that is a state law. And the ADA thing, it's mostly that you run a risk of a lawsuit or you just don't serve everybody in the community. So.
And, yeah, go ahead, Caitlin.
Real quick, so in when you were doing the comparison, I didn't see clay listed here.
Yeah, they didn't choose every time, there's just so many. Cicero do it, and Camilla's are the closest to us, Clay is bigger.
Okay, so this was a size comparison?
Yes, so we didn't do like Lafayette or Liver ones either, these are the ones that are like our cut, our.
They're comparable.
Yeah.
And then I saw here, so 30 years seems. I'll be a long ago, but okay. But I'm more used to forecast blown out no greater than 10 years. Is there a specific reason you chose 30 years for this?
We
Need a new roof in 30 years.
You need a new roof in 30 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's partly based on how long this building has been in operation. And the team did factor in new roofs and new boilers and things like that along the way. And actually, I forgot, I didn't answer one of your questions about. So what we assumed in the spreadsheet at the moment assumes no relative cost inflation in the cost of addressing this. So essentially what we did is we treated all of the future costs as though they were in $2026. If you think the construction costs are going to go up relative to other things, you can put that into the spreadsheet and take that into account. But
And then you have one line
yeah,
here.
sorry, I was going to say one other thing. The other reason that we put it 30 years out is that if we put the full retrofit closer in, right, it makes the cost of even option A, which is the minimal compliant, address the immediate needs. It starts making that look almost as big as a full retrofit, which we felt would look like we were putting our thumb on the scale in a way that we didn't want to. We wanted to be optimistic about how long the renovation could be delayed.
Okay,
And then in the spreadsheet, I haven't taken a look at it, but you have 30-year net present value cost after benefits. Do you have the quantitative data on the benefits?
Yeah, so there are estimates in the spreadsheet, of a range of benefits, which is reduction in lawsuit risk, improvement in, productivity of people who have more space, to work, a bunch of those benefits are in the spreadsheet.
Did I? That's spreadsheet.
Yeah, and it's online, yeah.
okay, thanks, everybody. Thank you for participating. Thank you very much.
Please extend our appreciation as well to the students who are professionals.
Hope you pass that.
Yeah.
I told them they should get A's.
Okay, well, let's move on to some of our regular business now. So I guess I would. So it's time to hire our summer staff to the recreation department's programs, the playground and the swim and all the other things they do. So with that, I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2026 recreation staff as presented. All of you. Any vote? I would talk a little bit about trash and brush. So we have, as I believe people know, the town contracts for the trash vendor to take care of our trash and brush. And the members of the community groups choose to participate with that, pay a fee that goes as part of their annual tax bill, but it is not a tax, it is a fee to trash and brush. And so their legal agreement we have is expiring at the end of this year, and we have to put it out to bid again for another period of time to get that vendor or a different vendor to come forward. So we have built a bidding process in compliance with procurement rules, and that would we want to put that out now. The bids would be due in August. We would then evaluate them, be able to put them in the budget for 2027. So that is the cycle of time. That's time. It's a meeting function.
But only our green waste, right?
Hmm?
For only our green waste?
Right.
Yeah, just for us.
That is residential.
Our regular trash, well, we're not, okay, so
This is regular people's trash.
when's the last time we did this for this?
Right.
5 years ago? And how many people returned bids?
Last year, last time?
Last time, just one? And we all see that as problematic?
Yeah.
And so are we gonna instruct anybody to reach out to companies and advise them that we have bid out?
Yeah. So we have some people in mind, but the bid documents are publicly available to any vendor who needs access. So authorize the deputy town clerk to publish the bid information for the collection and disposal of brush and the collection and disposal of refuse, rubbish, garbage, and recyclables, and publish the bid openings for August 5th at 10 a.m.
Awesome.
All in favor? Opposed? Okay. I can also speak on the parking signs, and I want to clarify that it's actually a little bit expanded from that. So for any of you who have driven by Sweet Road on a nice day, the Three Falls Woods has become very popular, and there have been some problems with the neighbors and traffic safety in that region. So we have talked to Sweet Road is county road. I spoke to Dave Knapp this afternoon, and he had previously talked with the highway superintendent of the county for permission to put no parking this side. So people will be allowed to park on the street on one side, but not on the other side, so that the traffic remains clear and there's a better access to the driveway. And the neighbors requested signs, and I would have to get highway guidance, it's 200 feet or 500 feet, saying entrance soon or coming off of this way or something, on both ways, so that people would know there's a driveway and they might be exiting traffic from. So, and we previously lowered the speed limit there to 45 for 50. So we keep trying to enhance the safety of that section. So Mr. Knapp was fine with both the park sign and the no parking sign. And our highway department will install such signs. And then our police department will enforce the parking, once we have those signs there. So that is our guideline for that. And I would like to, so I looked at modified motion to say that authorizing, so no parking this side. And, it's really not park, it's preserve, so to say, preserve ahead or something like that, on both sides. So people could, somebody would be going to that. Is it no parking this side, on this side, preserve ahead? Yeah, to the stop sign, so preserve ahead from both directions.
So it's all set. Motion will be all set.
Yeah.
And so I'll
Since you basically-
So I'll make a motion to authorize the town of Manlius Highway Department to install the no parking this side signs and preserve ahead on Sweet Road by Three Falls Woods.
Okay, all in favor? Thank you very much. So once those signs are up, we'll give a few tickets and try to get it.
This is the employee assistance program for town employees. It's a 1-year renewal for 7/1 to 6/30/27. Your costs are $50 per employee based on 119 employees at this point, and if we have a turnover, if we leave, employees leave, they get removed, if new employees, they get added. Emails go out, there's plenty of trainings for employees, it is a confidential program. And the only thing that they tell us is how many employees use the service. We do not know what types of service. And it is also available to members of the employee's household.
And how does that compare to last year's per employee fee?
Great question. I looked that up, I have it right in front of me.
Oh, did I decrease?
Yeah, it actually is, yes, because I had a phone consult with our representative, and it was a decrease because we have more than some. So, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
And how many employees did you say used it?
I don't have the figures right now, they'll run, totals for us, I can, forward that information to the board.
Is it a monthly reporting you can in, or is it?
Whatever, I can go quarterly, because I do supply it to the police department for CLIA accreditation, so we get theirs quarterly. You can get them however you'd like.
Yeah, I can see that they raised the trauma response to the extra $100 if they wanted to come for a second time. I mean, was there any reason behind that? Did we use it for?
I can use more, just because the cost of the police assistance programs.
Specialized people.
Anything else on that? Okay. Motion to authorize the supervisor to sign the EAP renewal contract subject to final legal review. Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. I did want to let people know that the Central New York SPCA asked town and Manlius to write a letter of support for some funding that they were seeking. There has been in the public realm a lot of concern about the SPCA. I want to clarify, we do have a contract with the SPCA, so they are available to help us should there be an animal cruelty case in the town. This year we have a contract with them currently. But we are thinking that we would need to learn more before we send a letter of support. So that was the discussion here, is that we're not sure what their current state, I know they have an award, but we're just not sure what their current status is to be able to support their expansion in some way when we're not sure that they've fixed their problem. So I wanted people to know that they are planning some improvements and we may support that, but we're not going to support it today because we haven't needed for them.
maybe we can ask them to come to the board meeting, do a presentation, like an update on their, to the board.
Right.
It'll help us with our consideration, one, two, also understand. Or the residents understand what they get for the contract that they do, what they provide per day.
Yeah, what is this?
All right, that's a good idea. So are people okay with that, being on that, you can give us the refuge? Make it okay.
Yes.
Follow up. Yeah. And now that they have to say, I
don't know, but I'll figure it out.
Okay, good. The next one, I guess Caitlin, I just need to talk about this, the Gen Super.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just reading the.
EOP.
So we had our open house last night for the, corridor study, and it was to present the draft plan from, our consultants, and it, I think, based on what I saw, was very well received. We had a great turnout last night. I got tons of great photos. And, we discussed safety, walkability and transportation, and what was the third topic? I don't know. I'm not on. So I was just trying to remember what the breakouts were. But I thought it went really well. When will the final draft of the final?
I think by the end.
Yeah. So we had several members of the committee that joined us last night. And it's all available on our website to review the draft plan.
So this is with the Empire State Development, and they have formed it, we need to sign, so it's amazing. Sure. This is good.
Yeah, under the strategic plan, so.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the supervisor to sign the ESG incentive proposal for the development for the Jonas P. Brody strategic plan subject to final legal review.
All in favor? Okay, budget then. Motion to approve the budget shelter as presented by the town council. All in favor? Motion to approve the budget transfers as presented by the town council. All in favor? All right. Anything else? Announcement. We're going to say anything about it. And I'll go.
Yeah, I'll share an update.
Okay. Thank you very much. Also, the job process, we're going to get out right now. Oh, your coming part. Yeah, so we could have meeting. So the pickleball courts in the village of Manlius are now open and available for use. There's going to be a grand opening and ribbon cutting on July 4th at 8:45 a.m. and then it'll be followed up with a pickleball tournament starting at 9. So you have to sign up for it. Please go to the village of Manlius' recreation Facebook page for more details on that process, please. But we're very excited that those are now available for use. Please come support the July festivities as well.
Police and fire, consolidation study group met today. Meeting again on the 22nd, I think, of July. And the Board Commission met today. And, it's been a long day at town.
The study group met last week. We had our first meeting. I thought that it went really well. I hope that they feel the same way for those of you that were here. We discussed identifying the problem that the study group had already observed, just kind of starting from scratch. And they quickly identified that they would like tours of both the police department as well as town hall. So we've successfully scheduled a tour of the police department for July 15th at 5:30. That will also include a presentation that evening. And I'll be working to schedule one for town hall at least sometime in August. So that we don't overwhelm July. But I think it's off to a good start, and as promised, the summary of the meeting is on the website already.
Oh, one more thing, the July events, the calendar shows that there's a tree commission presentation, and you know what that is. Unfortunately, I have to be rescheduled to sometime in August, that they show up on the August calendar. So that all dates again. And that is a new presentation. Oh, yes, that's right. I got so excited about pickleball first. These of the 50th anniversary of our summer show, the top that the recreation department puts on every year for 50 years now. That's crazy. I know, that's why I keep saying 50. Is coming up this year. They are doing Beautiful at Carole King. I was at the folks when I go to my girlfriend, the Carole King show is coming up. That will be July 16th through July 18th. Please buy your tickets and see the show. It's going to be very good. And like I said, it is their 50th anniversary of it, so just in case you didn't notice, I know, 50, it's a big deal, 50 years, going on 1976, so 20 years. A lot of talented people. Yes, a lot of talented people, a lot of hard work and effort goes into putting on this production every year. Go all strong, but please purchase your tickets, Manlius musical. Okay. Any other announcements? Yes.
We look for a motion. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the top as presented by the deputies.
Second. On there. Motion to approve abstract number 12 in the amount of $551,414.70.
I'll second. Yeah.
Okay.
You want to vote for me? You want to vote for?
Bathing. Yeah. And trash. The trash is big grass.
Oh,
Yeah. That's usually what I'm there.
Aye.
We both.
So, motion to go into executive session, discuss proposed lease of real property, unless it was substantially affect value thereof, we also, like, chief, so, yeah, actually, executive session as well.
Alright, thank you. Thanks for coming.
Oh, yeah.
2 hour blocks.
Okay.
Once we meet, we attend different evenings, invite public comments and stuff.
That's a great.
So you can make the transparency piece, but I think first we have to show the road.
Is how secure is it, police department, how much does it secret or practice?
I would address all that.
Okay.
I would do that. We used to do this.
Yeah.
We started.
Okay. So we're back.
I mean, makes sense.
It was a great way.
I accept it. Motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you very much. I want to leave them.
Sure.
Other than.
Question. Okay.
Because it's not